the country's so divided. There's pros and cons of both sides of the aisle. But so my shout out is to both the presidents, Trump and Biden. Ex-President Trump, current President Biden. Shout out to both of them. I really would like to invite both of them on the TomCast. And maybe it would just be not a debate, but like just three guys chatting. Maybe we even have it at Hooters or at Food and Beer.
Yep.
We're just three of us having beers and eating wings, and let's solve the world's problems. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode number 2 of the TomCast. I'm Tom, the Tominator Chericello. The lovely Sarah Magda is with us today.
What's up, guys?
How are you, Sarah?
I'm doing good, just fine.
Did you have a great week?
I had a good week. It was a good week.
All right, that's good to hear. Usually to start off, we have a few shout-outs every week. My first one is to my radio idol, Howard Stern. Ever heard of Howard Stern, Sarah? You know anything about him?
I know that he does America's Got Talent. He's a judge on there.
I think he used to be. If Howard were here, and I hope to have him on one day, he would be pissed right now. He doesn't want to be known for that.
He would yell at me.
He's been on the radio for like 45 years. I was growing up in the New York area, and he was on WNBC AM, an AM radio. Have you ever listened to an AM radio station? Do you know what that even means?
I know what an AM radio station is, but I don't. But I don't think I've ever listened to it just free willingly. No, I don't think I have.
I used to listen to him every day, and I don't know what Howard. I mean, what you read now, he makes $100 million a year or something. But back then, Howard would do personal appearances like on the weekend, and there was this restaurant in Sayreville, New Jersey called Club Benet. That's what they called a dinner theater. Like, you paid and you got dinner and a show.
Yeah.
And it was Italian food, like, spaghetti and meatballs, stuff like that.
My favorite.
And, all right. And it was like $20. So I didn't have any money at that time, and I could take a date there for like $40. And Howard and his partner was a woman named Robin Quivers. Like, you're Robin Quivers on this show. Okay. And I'm Howard Stern.
Got it.
So, I would go see Howard at Club Benet, and the place closed down after like 40 years in business or something. But, it's just amazing to me. Howard used to have to appear at Club Benet, and now look at him. He's like the king of all media, as they say. So shout out to Howard Stern. My next one is Taylor Swift. We didn't mention her last week, the slight there. And I grew up like in an era where, it was like classic rock, hard rock bands like the Rolling Stones, the
Not
Who,
a Swiftie era?
The Doors, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, bands like that. So I never thought, like when Taylor came on the scene, she was this young girl, these like, kind of sappy songs, and like, that I would like her. But, I do like her. It's not my favorite artist, but, she's unbelievably talented. And like, I didn't know that she was good looking right away. Like, I'm not checking out like 15-year-olds. But, like, she's tall. People don't know Taylor's 5'10". I mean, she's a very beautiful woman. And you don't know what celebrities are, quote, like in real life. You just, like, we don't hang out with them. But she seems like such a nice person. Like,
she does.
I think that's for real.
Yeah, I think that's for real, too. I mean, the stuff that she does, giving back, and when she gives her hat to, like, a little kid, when she's does her concerts and stuff, class act she is. I feel like she's a very good person inside and out in the media and outside of the media as well. And, I agree with you.
The only negative about Taylor Swift is her boyfriend has a competitive podcast. So, hey, she's got to be listening to the TomCast.
You got to be here if you want to be on a podcast.
Howard Stern talked about her, and he's like, he hasn't, to my knowledge, she's never been on the Howard Stern show. I want to trump Howard and get Taylor on our show.
Yep. Mr. Travis, we're coming for you.
My next shout out is to Jennifer Aniston, who obviously we all know from Friends, and I mean so many funny movies after Friends. I have a girlfriend who like is always making fun of me for loving Selena Gomez, and she's like, Tom, she's so young. That's kind of like that me being attracted to Selena Gomez is kind of like inappropriate. She's always saying to me, age appropriate, Tom, and I'm like, first of all, Selena was born on July 22nd, 1992. So she's 31. And
glad you know her birthday.
That's
good. That's good you know her birthday.
I don't know what's sicker that
That's
you know
a true
her birthday.
fan.
Well, I have to confess, one of my last engagements was also born on July 22nd, many years before Selena. So I know that date.
Yeah.
But my girlfriend is always on my case about time you need to date age-appropriate women. And Jennifer Aniston was born in 1969. So she's age-appropriate. She's not married. I wonder, would like Jennifer Aniston date a quote-unquote regular guy? Like, it'd have to be like a superstar, like great-looking guy like Brad Pitt, Justin Theroux. Would she come to Sarasota? Would Jennifer Aniston go to Hooters, or would she be like insulted if I said, let's go to Hooters?
I feel like she would. I feel like she's cool. I feel like she would be like okay with that. I mean, just personally, I think that she would.
And I don't have like Brad Pitt money, but I would always pay. She would never have to loan me money.
Right.
You know, I have my own money.
Gentlemen.
That's why I'm a nice guy. So shout out to Jennifer. If you're ever in Sarasota, Florida, I'm ready. And my last one for this week is to both sides, and I'll get into politics a little bit later. I try to remain in the middle. You know, like the country's so divided. There's pros and cons of both sides of the aisle. But so my shout out is to both the presidents, Trump and Biden, ex-President Trump, current President Biden. Shout out to both of them there. I really would like to invite both of them on the TomCast. You know, and maybe it would just be not a debate, but like just a town hall thing where we just, not even a town hall, it would just be like three guys chatting. Maybe we even have it at Hooters or at Food and Beer.
Yep.
You know, we're just three of us having beers and eating wings, and let's solve the world's problems.
Just guys, just a group of guys hanging out.
And you.
Yep, and me, of course.
I think they would both want, from what I hear about, well, we won't get into that. So those are the shout outs for today. So the next section is, last week I kind of interviewed you, Sarah. Our listeners and viewers got to know a little about your history, and turnabout is fair play, as they say. I think
Yep.
Maybe they want to know a little about me, or maybe they.
It's only fair if we did that. It is only fair.
I'm going to open it up to you, and just fire away.
All right. We're going to do like a rapid fire questions. We got some questions here. I think I need to put on some investigative work here. So we're going to stick with these right now. Okay.
No, I should add that those came out of the wardrobe budget of the TomCast.
They did. They did come out of the wardrobe budget. All right. So, Tom, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town about 45 minutes outside of New York City called Cranford, New Jersey. And it was... You don't know when you're growing up, like really, you don't have any point of reference if your town is a good town or a bad town. It's where you grew up, and you like it. But it was really, there was no crime in our town, really great schools, 2 swim clubs, tennis courts. We had a canoe club, like in the middle of town, there was a river.
A canoe club?
And you could go, like, rent canoes. And some of my first romantic experience.
Oh, we'll get into that a little bit later then. All right.
So it was just a great town. I was so fortunate to grow up there.
Never forget where you come from.
And New York City was right there, if you wanted to go into New York. And
that's all right there. I love that. All right. What was your favorite subject in school?
I realized you really can't, to my knowledge, make money at it, but I loved history. And I was just, to me, and really think about movies, like so many famous movies are based on historical events, like Gone with the Wind is the Civil War.
Yep.
Titanic, obviously that really happened. April 15th, 1912, Titanic sunk.
Yep.
I remember that date because that's when your taxes are due.
It's a good way to memorize it.
That was
I like that one.
That's how I remembered it in school. But I think about like George Washington crossing the Delaware on December 26, 1776, and we were ready to lose the Revolution. The United States. We were losing every battle. Guys were deserting. The army was poorly equipped. In winter, some of our soldiers didn't even have boots. So they're basically wrapping their feet in leaps or whatever.
Yeah.
And Washington knew he needed a victory. And so the enemy wasn't really expecting us to attack on Christmas.
Right.
And so he marched on Christmas, and they actually attacked. The Battle of Trenton occurred on December 26th. And it was an easy win for us, and it just got us the win we needed, fired up our troops. Guys started enlisting, and it turned the tide of the revolution, and here we are today. So I think that's so interesting to me.
Right.
So I liked history.
That's cool. I like that. What were your interests as a kid?
Well, where I grew up, it's kind of a different era today, but sports were everything.
Really?
I mean, even guys and girls. We played baseball. The girls,
Right.
you didn't have enough guys. But after school, playing sports. Go home, eat dinner as fast as you could, get out and play sports until your parents dragged you in. We'd be playing in the dark.
You know what? Not to cut you off, but I wish it was more like that nowadays for kids nowadays, because they're so involved with social media and everything. Sometimes I wish it could just go back to, because that's how I grew up too, coming outside and get on, go home when the street lights come on, and they couldn't get us inside even. But now I feel like it's different. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I do agree.
you're fine.
I wish it was like that.
No, I agree. I think kids now go home and play video games or social media. They're on their computer. And there is good in that, I think, but you learn so much from sports, not just the physical fitness aspect, but you learn teamwork, you learn competition, sportsmanship. You don't have to do it to become a professional athlete.
Oh, absolutely.
We just were obsessed with it. And it was all year long. In the winter, I can remember shoveling the basketball court or the tennis court, the snow off so we could play. And the girls would cheer. Some of the cheerleaders would practice their cheers while we were playing.
Yeah. That gave you some motivation, extra motivation.
Sports were, and I was so into every team in every sport. I can't anymore, but I used to know every player on every sports team in every league.
Wow.
Football, basketball, baseball. Collected
some good memory.
Baseball cards. I was obsessed with sports.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of sports, what are your favorite sports teams?
Well, where I grew up in baseball, baseball was the sport then. It's obviously football's clearly surpassed it in popularity, and basketball maybe even. But where I grew up, the two baseball teams were the New York Yankees and New York Mets. And most people, if you liked one, you hated the other.
Right.
And I actually liked both. The Yankees, obviously, their history of more world championships than any team, and they had Reggie Jackson. They won the World Series in 1977 and 78. But the New York Mets had a pitcher named Tom Seaver who was just unbelievable. He died a couple years ago, and then in the 80s, they won the World Series in 1986, had one of the greatest teams maybe of all time. So I liked both. So people used to say, how can you like both? But I did like both. And I also liked, people said, oh, you're rooting for the winning team. The Cincinnati Reds were a great team when I was a little kid. And I liked them because they had two of my favorite players. Their catcher was Johnny Bench, who's retired. He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And they also had, my favorite player was Pete Rose.
Yeah.
He's the all-time hits leader in Major League Baseball history, most base hits. And he's not in the Hall of Fame, and that may be a topic for one of our future podcasts because he gambled. They found that he gambled on baseball games, so they banned him from the Hall of Fame, which I strongly disagree with, but that's a topic for another episode.
Yeah, I have a good friend. He's a big Cincinnati Reds fan. Yeah, he loves them. Every time that the TV comes on with them, watching it 24/7. All right, speaking of sports, what about athletes? Your favorite athletes?
Well, I mentioned a few of them. Pete Rose was my favorite baseball player. Football, I loved Joe Namath, was a quarterback for the New York Jets. And later, Lawrence Taylor was a linebacker for the New York Giants, who Bill Belichick, the former coach of the New England Patriots, I saw him on some broadcast, and he said, clearly the greatest defensive player in the history of the NFL. And I actually met Lawrence Taylor once, but he was just an unbelievable player. So I was a Lawrence Taylor guy. Everybody was, I think. Basketball, there was a team, used to be called the New Jersey Nets, a basketball team. Now they're the Brooklyn Nets. They play in Brooklyn, New York. They had a guy named Julius Erving, and his nickname was Dr. J. And everybody in our neighborhood was obsessed with Dr. J. He could dunk the basketball he could jump he would jump from the foul line and dunk the ball. He was just...
That's crazy.
And some of the plays that he made, if you go on YouTube and watch it, I love to go on YouTube and just search stuff that happened, like a rock concert from 1970 or something, or a basketball game from 1980. And Dr. J I loved. So that would be, those are my baseball, football, basketball.
You got any favorite hockey players? Or you're not a hockey fan?
I loved, the Boston Bruins had a guy named Bobby Orr. This is going way back when I was a real little kid, but Bobby Orr was like unbelievable defenseman for the Boston Bruins. I loved Bobby Orr. I loved Phil Esposito. He was big number 99. He played for the Boston Bruins and then the New York Rangers. And then he founded the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was one of the founders of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yeah, Phil Esposito. He's still, I think, a broadcaster for the Lightning.
That's actually really
cool.
He
was number 99, big number 99, Phil
That's
Esposito.
Actually really cool. I like that a lot. That's cool.
And then later I loved Mario Lemieux, who played for the Pittsburgh Penguins, was an unbelievable player. And then he got cancer and recovered from cancer and came back. And Wayne Gretzky, obviously, many feel the greatest hockey player ever. I loved him. I remember once, I'll tell a funny story. I bet on a hockey game. It was a 9 o'clock game, and Wayne Gretzky was playing for the Los Angeles Kings, and they're destroying everybody, like winning like 9-1, and they're playing the Minnesota North Stars at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, and I'm losing my bets. Yeah. So I need to try to get even. So I said, I'm going to bet Wayne Gretzky, and he has a daughter who's a beautiful woman named, his wife's Janet Jones. I'm trying to think of his daughter. His daughter's name is Paulina, beautiful, like a model. And I lose the bet, and I find out his daughter was born that night, so he didn't play to go see his daughter born. Yeah. I've never forgiven his daughter for making me lose that bet.
Okay, all right. Ooh, what about childhood crushes?
All right, well, I'm going to talk about famous people.
All right.
There was a TV show when I was a little kid called Charlie's Angels. It was on Wednesday nights. I'll never forget it. And it was 3 women who were police officers who left the police force and became private investigators.
Right.
And I think every guy, like no matter how old, if you were from like 8 to 80, was in love with Charlie's Angels. Farrah Fawcett, Jacqueline Smith, and Kate Jackson. So I was in love with all 3 of them. Yeah. And also around that same time when there was a TV show called Wonder Woman, and the actress was named Linda Carter. So a tall brunette. Yep. And so those 4, I was in love with, Charlie's Angels and Linda Carter.
All right, there we go. Favorite movie?
I would say it's a tie between The Godfather, and I go back and forth. Like, is The Godfather, some people say, oh, you're crazy. The Godfather Part 1 is clearly the best. But I really love also The Godfather Part 2. So those 2 movies, like I said, I flip-flop. And also a movie came out in late December 1967 called The Graduate. It's about a young guy played by Dustin Hoffman who graduates from college with honors. So he goes home for the summer, and he starts having an affair with his father's law partner's wife, who's a lot older than him. She seduces him, and he has an affair. So then both parents push him to go out with the daughter of the woman he's having the affair with, who's played by Catherine Ross, who was unbelievably beautiful. I was in love with her. Add her to the crush list.
Okay, well, adding her. Add to the list.
And so he falls in love with her, and then the mother doesn't want him seeing her daughter. Right. So she tells the daughter that he raped her. And so the daughter believes it, and then he has to get her back. And the movie ends where, she's marrying another guy, and he runs into the church and grabs her in her wedding dress, pulls her out of the church, and they get on a bus, and the movie ends. And
messy starts the movie, but happy ending.
I got to tell you, though, I saw an interview with her. It was like the 30th anniversary of that movie DVD. And so they're interviewing all the actors in the movie. Like Dustin Hoffman wasn't really, I think he would agree with this. He wasn't a super great looking guy. He was short. Right. Big nose, and he's like, who would believe that I would be with her? Right. But they interviewed her, and the interview was, every man in America was in love with you, and she gave the greatest answer. She's like, obviously none of them know me.
That is a good answer.
How do you like that for a self-depreciating answer?
Yeah, for real. That's
she was just so.
They don't know me.
Those the 2 Godfather movies and The Graduate, I would say. It's a tie, and I still don't get tired of watching them. Like, I might get home at 3 o'clock in the morning or something if I'm out, and you just wired up and don't want to go to sleep surfing
Late
the
nights,
channels.
late night
and one
movie.
of them's on. I don't turn it off.
Yeah, late night movies.
I know every line of both movies.
Yeah. All right. Well, what about favorite foods? Switch it up a little
Well,
bit.
my last name's Chericello, and I grew up in New Jersey, so obviously Italian food.
Italian. It's always a win. You can never go wrong with it, honestly.
Yep, Italian food, but I also love steak. And when I moved to Sarasota, Florida, I was concerned about like the food being good, but there are so many great places to eat here. You know, coming from the Northeast, I love basically Italian and steak. I like a lot of different types of steaks: ribeyes, filet mignon, and prime rib. I like them all.
That's good. Yeah. All right. Favorite drinks? Can I answer this one for you?
There you go. Let's go ahead.
All right. Single Tito's, soda, splash of cranberry in a tall glass.
That's correct. a lot of bars, like, I guess if you're a regular customer, they put you in their system or whatever. And there's like not one place they call me.
The system is the memory. That's what the system is.
They call me Tito Tom.
Tito's Tom. Yep.
And I went to, they make Tito's in Austin, Texas. My brother lives in Austin, so I went to visit him about 5 years ago, right? And he was all excited to see me, and we're going to go out and drink and have fun. And he goes, well, where do you want to go? And I go, anywhere you want. And I go, I want to go to the Tito's factory. They have tours. And, check it out.
Yeah.
And we go there, and the guy says, you're out of luck. They stopped the tours like a month ago because I guess people were, getting hurt or whatever. They stopped it. So I said, he goes, where do you want to go next?
Did they ever start it up again or no?
No, not to my knowledge. And then
That kind of sucks.
the next place I said, all right, take me to the University of Texas Law Library. And he goes, what is wrong with you? And I go, it's the best law library in the country, like the most volumes. I'm an attorney, and I'm into reading that stuff. And so we get there, and it's 4 o'clock, and they close at 5. So he goes, all right, I'll just wait in the car. And I go in and look at the books, and then I'm there only for an hour. And I come out, and he goes, well, what now? He's like getting kind of irritated. I go, now we're going drinking.
There we go. Little knowledge time for a drink.
So Tito's is my favorite.
Yep, Tito's Tom. All right, favorite president?
My parents, we'll talk about it more in the episodes ahead. My parents were, working class, Italian. My father was a union worker in New Jersey, and they never voted for Republican in their lives. Democrat all the way. My mother idolized, worshipped John F. Kennedy. And then I'm obviously, I was Ronald Reagan. I was a huge Ronald Reagan guy, and I became a Republican because of Ronald Reagan. My parents used to be like, how do we raise a Republican? What is wrong with you? And so I thought Reagan was kind of, in the middle, that wasn't one-sided against any group, and I thought he was a decent, great president. And so Ronald Reagan was my favorite president.
All right. Good answer. What did you like best about living in New Jersey when you were there?
Well, I mentioned the food. Also, the proximity to New York City, 45 minutes from where I grew up, and also Philadelphia, which is a great city as well, was, from where I grew up was maybe 2-hour drive. Another thing people don't realize about New Jersey, if you watch movies or TV shows, you think of factories and, depressed areas and, inner city. It's a beautiful state. Like, we have great beaches, not necessarily as good as Sarasota, but it's a great place to go in the summer. The Jersey Shore is so much fun. And also the mountains, like in northwestern New Jersey, like near, the Pocono Mountains are in Pennsylvania, but there's, you can go camping or go to the beach or go to, a major city all in the same day. So there's so much to do there. Yep.
All right. And now I remember you saying you lived in Las Vegas, so what was the best part about that one?
I loved that it was sunny like almost every day.
Yeah.
Like it literally, I don't know what the statistics are, but if it rains like 3 days a year is probably a lot.
Right.
So you like that, that if you're planning to play golf or do something, you don't have to worry about checking the weather forecast.
Because it's always going to be nice.
I used to joke, why do they even have a weather forecast on the news in Las Vegas?
Right, you already know it's going to be dry and sunny.
I love that. I love that having come from New Jersey, most of Las Vegas is new. So you have new roads, new stores, new houses. Everything's all clean and new.
Yep.
So I love that. And when people hear about in Las Vegas, like a casino has $9 prime rib on Wednesday night, they're probably thinking, oh, this is, what can you get for $9? It must be horrible. But it's not. Like, so, you could eat really well cheap because they just wanted to get you in there to gamble.
Right. Yep. Makes sense. All right. What about Louisiana? Your favorite part about that?
I went to law school in Louisiana, and the people there were so great. Like, they're just having a great time. I'm a Yankee. I'm listening to me talk. I literally am a Yankee from New Jersey and a Yankee fan. But I was accepted by them and had so much fun there. The people were just so down to earth and just wanted to have a good time and drink and watch sports and have fun. So the people of Louisiana and the food, like obviously in New Orleans, is like no other city in America.
Yeah.
There's certain things that people should do once in their life, in my opinion. Go to the Kentucky Derby, go to the Super Bowl. But definitely, if you've never been to New Orleans, you've got to go.
Yeah, my cousin is doing his, he's in med school, and he's living there right now, going through med school. Well, he's working in the hotel, residency, I think that's what it is. But he got established there in New Orleans, and I think he really loves it there. All right, the classic Sarasota, Florida. What's your favorite part about that? There's so much not to. I mean you cannot love it.
There's so much. The beaches are among the best in the world.
I think it was like number 3 or 1. It's always like number 1, or I think it's number 1 in Siesta Key Beach. Yeah. It's
the people. I mentioned Louisiana, but like when I came here, like I never thought the people here would be my best friends. Like, because you have people that you've known for your whole life. Mm-hmm. The people here, they're from everywhere. Like, there's so many people from the Northeast, like Boston, New York, New Jersey, but also the Midwest. A ton of people from Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, a lot of Wisconsin people. So the people here have been great. Like I said, the beaches, the food, as I mentioned, is much better than I thought it would be. The economy is really good here. Unemployment's low. I was also concerned, can you make money here? Coming from the New York area, like I always thought of Florida as like, people who like retire here.
Yeah.
But I've worked really hard, but I've been very fortunate to do well, and it's just a wonderful place.
Absolutely. All right, this is my favorite question. Why haven't you been married yet?
Wow, TMI. I want to say because I'm lucky now. I want to say because Selena Gomez and Jennifer Aniston haven't met me yet. But I don't know. Like, I always wanted that. Like, when you're like some guys, I remember when you're like 20 and you're hanging out with your boys, and like there'd always be a couple in the group. I ain't never get married, and like I was never that guy. Like, I always thought, I'd be a good dad, and I was going to call my son T2.
T2.
No, that would be his nickname, not his real
T2.
name. Like, he'd be Tom, but T2. But that was, I guess, the sequel to Terminator was T2, right?
Yep.
And that never worked out for me. I mean, I guess it's not too late. Like, I remember my parents had their kids when they were over 40, which back then that was like a really serious thing. You didn't have kids in your 40s.
Right.
Now, I mean, you see, like, I think Janet Jackson had a child at 50.
Yeah, it's like very common nowadays to have kids when you're a little bit older. I feel like even now, like, I'm about to be 25 in less than a month, and it's like I don't think I want a kid until, probably I am 30 or something. I can't imagine the next 5 years with a kid in it type of thing. But I feel like it's very common nowadays to do that.
So I guess it's not too late.
Yeah, not too late.
It could change tonight.
Yeah. Did you have now? This is a question out of my heart. Did you have one that got away? You don't have to tell the story, but did you have one that got away?
I'd say maybe even 2.
2 that got away.
Like, where it was discussed, and, both, one's married now and has a child. I'm trying to think when I saw her last. Maybe 6 years ago, just before she met her current husband, and I probably made a mistake. I think I did. She was. I think it was just me moving around, like,
right.
Because if I'm living in Las Vegas or Louisiana, you're not going to stay together,
right? Yeah.
And that's one I think would have done difference. Definitely that one. But apparently she's doing really well. she has a good job, and I heard she had a baby like less than a year ago. Yeah. So, you know, beautiful girl. She used to come down here and visit me when I first moved to Sarasota. We had a lot of fun, but, you know.
Timing wasn't right, yeah.
That's right.
That's right. All right. What do you like best about doing this podcast with me, of course?
That's right. You, my co-host, absolutely. We're having fun, you know, like I thought of doing this that maybe people would see me and, you know, I could promote my business, but I'm really enjoying it. Like, you know, I think I know a decent amount about a lot of topics, and we're having fun.
We are. We're having fun chit-chatting, sitting here, taking our days, you know. All right. Well, it's pretty much all my rapid-fire questions I have for you today, so.
All right. We got a lot to cover still. Quick OJ Simpson update. As I mentioned last episode, you know, OJ passed a week ago. Just to reiterate for those that, you know, didn't see the last episode, OJ Simpson was found not guilty for the criminal in the criminal case for murdering his ex-wife and her friend, but the family sued him civilly. So it had nothing to do, you know, this was nothing to do with the government, and you know, there's the legal standard for a criminal offense is guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah. So it's a pretty high standard. The state has to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But when they sued civilly, they just have to show that it's a preponderance of the evidence, so more than 50% that you found that you committed the offense. So they sued OJ civilly, and they won. The families of his ex-wife and her friend. And they got a judgment, I think it was 1996, for like $33 million. So OJ never paid it, and the interest kept getting tacked on. So now it's up to $90 million. So OJ passed. So the question was, will his estate have to pay? No one knows how much money OJ Simpson had when he died. So first, the attorney for OJ lived in Nevada. When you die, the probate, they call it probate. It would be probate would be open in the state where you lived. Yeah. So it's Nevada. So Nevada law would govern that. And at first, earlier in the week, his attorneys for the estate said they're not getting a dime. And now he kind of backtracked a couple of days ago, and he said, we'll comply with the law. So now apparently it's come out that he owed the IRS money. So who knows how much is going to be there. So it's going to be interesting to see in the upcoming, you know, weeks and months, will his ex-wife's family and her friend's family see any money from OJ's estate.
Right.
So that's the OJ update. Also in sports, the NBA playoffs started, I believe, yesterday. The NBA instituted a few years ago something called the play-in game. It's kind of you almost need to, you know, be a scientist to figure out the rules. Like if one team loses, they could play again. But it's not like you have a number of teams make the playoffs and that's it.
Right.
They have like it's when the season ends, before the real playoffs start, they have these what they call play-in games that are going on right now. I watched the Lakers play the New Orleans Pelicans the other night. The Lakers won. Another shout-out is to LeBron James. The man is 39 years old and just playing at an unbelievable level. Like, people don't realize, like, I mean, in real life, 39 is a young man today where people are living to be 80, 90, 100.
Yeah.
But in sports...
That's how physically active they are, and it takes a toll on your body. So for him to still keep doing that is kind of incredible.
Another thing people don't realize...
It's a lot to maintain your body.
It happens a lot now, but when I was a kid, it only happened like twice ever. But now... LeBron James didn't play college basketball. He went right from high school to the NBA. So that's like 21 years he's been playing. And an NBA season, I never obviously experienced it firsthand, but it's a grueling season. You're playing 80 games, or I think it's 82 games, and you're traveling, like flying, even though they're on private jets and everything.
Yeah, you're still flying.
The travel wears on you. These games wear on you. Like, what LeBron James accomplished is like mind-boggling. Michael Jordan is an unbelievable player, but LeBron has 21 years in the NBA, and he's still playing at a top level. Because college is not the same. The season is a lot shorter. The travel is a lot less. So if he had gone to college and played 4 years, so the wear on his body is 4 years longer.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe that he's still doing it.
And also, I love that LeBron has given back. I mean, a lot of he's not the only one, but I think that he started a school in Cleveland, and he kind of remained loyal. He's from the Cleveland area. I think he grew up in Akron, Ohio. But LeBron, has given back and started a school and helped his hometown. So hats off to LeBron, and I really enjoy watching him play. Even though I think the playing games are kind of
right.
ridiculous, but
yep.
NHL playoffs. I've adopted the Tampa Bay Lightning, and people say, "Oh, you're a fair weather fan. Now you like the Lightning." But I live here now, and they did win 2 Stanley Cups since I've been here.
Just makes sense.
Even though they didn't have the best record during the season, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic that the Lightning might go far in the playoffs, if not win the Stanley Cup.
I agree. I think they'll get pretty far.
Now, they have a tremendous goaltender named Andrei Vasilevsky. I mean, they call him the Big Cat, and he was injured at the start of the year. So he missed, the first third of the season or something like that. That could actually work out in his favor because, again, the wear and tear of a full season, now he's, gotten into top form.
Right.
And they have a winger named Nikita Kucherov who just got his 100th assist, I believe, last night, actually. And I think only 5 players in NHL history have gotten 100 assists in a season. Wayne Gretzky, I mentioned. Mario Lemieux, who I mentioned. Bobby Orr, who I mentioned. And Connor McDavid, who's on the Edmonton Oilers, also did it this year. So only 5 players in the history of NHL ever got 100 assists in a season. And then my favorite Lightning player is probably their captain, Steven Stamkos. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the Lightning can go far into the playoffs, if not win the Stanley Cup. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah. You know what impresses me? How much you know about all of this. Every name, everything. That's very impressive.
Meaningless trivia, right?
Yeah, it is. But you could probably win a trivia quiz if you wanted to.
Well, I used to go to Thursday night trivia at a bar in downtown Sarasota, and they moved it. But a couple weeks ago, I went to another bar in Sarasota, Tap 72, and my trivia team is called the Tominators, and we did win the coveted $40 gift card for first place.
There we go.
Of course, my teammates contributed a lot. It wasn't all me.
It wasn't all you. Even though you want to take the W on that one.
I'm the captain. I get credit for the W. So I'm excited about the NHL playoffs and the NBA playoffs. It should be interesting. So the next thing I want to address is the first time in American history a former president is on trial criminally. I'm talking about Donald Trump. And I should say this, like I mentioned earlier, I try to remain moderate, where I'm not my issue with either side, whether you're watching television shows, political shows, they're just so biased to their side. They're not open-minded. I try to remain open-minded. I mean, in some ways I agree with the Republicans. In some ways, some areas I agree with the Democrats. But so I'm not making this political. But Donald Trump is on trial in New York. It's not on TV. The judge said no. The judge has to okay it for stuff to be on TV. He's being charged with falsification of business records. Now, I don't have. I'm not a criminal attorney. That's not something you see every day, like business owners getting arrested for falsifying records. Yeah. And maybe if you're not paying your taxes, you might get charged with tax evasion. And what they're saying is this all stems from 2016, right before Trump was elected president. There was rumors that he had an affair with a adult actress named Stormy Daniels, like a porn star. And allegedly, she denied it, he denies it, then she turned around and said it did happen. So we don't even know if it really happened.
Right.
But supposedly that she was given $130,000 to not say anything, like hush money they call it.
Yeah.
Which is legal. Like I could pay you $100 to not tell anyone where I had lunch today.
Yeah.
And that would be legal.
Right.
So don't tell anyone what I had for lunch today.
Yeah.
I'll give you $100. Of course, I enjoyed my lunch today. It was a business expense.
Business expense.
But in any event, what they're alleging is that, like, he paid his lawyer, and marked it as a business expense for paying an attorney, which is valid. But they said part of that was hush money. So he was falsifying records, that it was really hush money. And they arrested him for this. So, like, right now it's going through jury selection. And it's a hard thing to find a jury for this case because I'm actually going to be in a case of my own tomorrow. I'm going to have to select a jury.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask the prospective jurors, can you be impartial?
Right.
Like, depending on what it's about. So some of these jurors are coming like, no, I can't. I hate the guy,
Right.
So it's taken longer to get a jury. They need to get 12 jurors plus alternates in case people get sick or their job or something happens. There are a lot of reasons why, in this case, you probably want to have a lot of alternates because you need 12.
Right.
And they were up to 7 yesterday at the end of the day. And now I read today, now they're down to 5 because they had to kick 2 off.
That's crazy.
I guess
Do you know why they had to get kicked off?
Yeah, stuff came out. I didn't really get a chance to look at it closely, but I think 2 of the jurors had stuff in their past that came out that they didn't know about, and they found out. So now so the hope was that the jury would be filled by Friday, and then the case could start.
Yeah, but they're still waiting now.
One observation I had, which is unusual, that I don't believe they're the 2 that got kicked off, but 2 of the jurors were lawyers. Now, they don't tell you the juror's name. It's all confidential, but they do tell you something about them, like in the news. And normally lawyers, they won't let you be on a jury. Like if I were to get called for duty and I say jury, and I say I'm a lawyer. But I think that my take on that as an attorney, that's going to be good for Trump because attorneys, usually they don't want attorneys on because I think that could work out potentially good for Trump that he's got 2 lawyers on the jury. Maybe not. We'll see. But this trial is going to go on for a while. Like I think they're talking like 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow, yeah, that's long. That's a while.
Another issue I have with it is I'm not trying to pick a side here. I want to remain neutral, and I have areas again that both sides are right and wrong in certain areas, in my opinion. But Trump's own personal attorney is now against him. Like, I can't. I think I would die before I would divulge client confidence. Like, that's the oath that I took.
Yeah.
Like, what you say to me, and we talked about last week. I'm your lawyer.
Right.
Whatever you say to me, that's sacred.
Yeah.
I mean, and where his own attorney is turning on him
and just started talking.
There's going to be a witness against him. I mean, really.
That's actually pretty wild. That's like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Turn of events.
There's no doubt there's more facts about this case than I know. I don't know.
Have churned.
Maybe the guy was forced to do it by the government, or they maybe threatened him criminally. So he said, "Look, if you just give us Trump, we'll give you a deal."
Right.
I don't know, but I just don't like an attorney testifying against his own client.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
So
a little gray area right there.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm excited to see how that case goes. But really,
should be interesting.
A president being arrested, I mean, I'm not a historian. I mentioned at the outset, I love history as like a hobby. But I never majored in history. I don't have a degree in history.
Right.
I've never taught history in college or anything like that. But let's be honest. A lot of our presidents were not all great guys.
Right.
Like, whatever. They're human beings. Like, I mean, I won't mention names, but like a lot of them had mistresses. They were married. DUIs, even allegations of prostitutes, and even alleged, if you believe anything you read, maybe even rapes and criminal activity. Right. A lot of them didn't have money, and they allegedly committed crimes to get money. I mean, so a lot of our presidents were not all saints. Obviously, in the early days, a lot of them owned slaves, which was accepted back then, but still. I can't put myself in 1850, obviously. But I'm just saying, for me, like, even if it was 5,000 years ago, like, a person is your property. Like, you would think that, you didn't need the world to, I would have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Even back then. But a lot of the early presidents owned slaves. So, I mean, a lot of our presidents, again, were not all saints. I think some of them were, some like, I mean, I didn't really agree with him politically, but Jimmy Carter is a name you probably never even heard of. Jimmy Carter was our president.
Nope.
But he seemed like a really good, he's 100, I think. I think he turned 100, but really a decent
Still
man.
kicking it, huh?
Yeah. And Barack
Good for
Obama,
him.
who, that's another shout out. Barack Obama, I think, I don't agree with him politically, but he seems like a decent man. And I would
agree
like to
with
have
that.
a beer with Barack Obama.
Can have it. I can agree with that.
I'd like to watch the NBA playoffs with Barack Obama because I know he's friends with LeBron James and played basketball in high school. So he seems like a decent man. But a lot of them were, but my point is none of these guys got arrested.
Right.
And now they're charging him criminally. So kind of leaves a bad. Yeah. I'm not saying that Trump's an angel or that he's not guilty. I don't know for a fact, but leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have. I'm getting off my political soapbox today. Entertainment. I want to talk a little bit about. You like to go to the movies, Sarah?
I do.
Now,
I do like to go to the movies.
I think today, since COVID, I love going to the theater. Like it's the giant screen. I love getting my popcorn and my Twizzlers.
And I feel like all the movie theaters now, they have those reclining chairs. You can really back, watch the movie.
I went to a premiere last Friday. The Man with the White Van. A friend of mine is the executive producer. I give a shout out to the Man in the White Van. It's like a thriller about this serial killer in North Florida. Not really, Leesburg above Tampa, and set in the 1970s. The songs were all 1970 songs I remember when I was a little kid. I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family was #1 song, 1970. YouTube, that's a really classic pop song.
Writing it in my notes for later.
All right. But I went to the premiere of that, and it was a really good movie at this theater, and I had the reclining chair, set it all back, and I started to doze off. My friend had to wake me up for a second. Not because the movie wasn't good, but I had been working since 4 in the morning that day. Because I get up crazy early some days.
A little cat nap.
But I love the experience of going to theater, and so many people don't. They're like, well, I can watch it from home, pay-per-view, or they have the apps and stuff.
Right.
But I love getting my popcorn. I'll give a shout out to Twizzlers is the best.
Twizzlers are really good. Popcorn's really good. We used to do that as a family tradition growing up. We would go to the movies Christmas Day. Every single year we'd go and watch a movie, come back home, we'd open up our presents, go to the movies, come back home, make some dinner. Yeah, it was like our family tradition to go and watch the movies on Christmas.
Well, I mentioned last week a 1974 movie, The Towering Inferno, about a 140-story building that burned down. And with OJ Simpson was in that movie, but my dad took me to see that on Christmas Day. I remember when I was a little kid. So we did that too. But I miss that, and I get some, friends of mine that they don't want to go to theater. I can watch it at home or,
Right.
But
a lot of people don't really like to leave their house nowadays, I feel like.
It started, I guess, with COVID,
Yeah.
But there's a movie out now. I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it maybe this weekend called Civil War. It's set in the near future about how the country breaks apart into 4 factions.
I've heard of this movie.
And one of them is the Southeast, I think they call it the Florida faction, about maybe 10 or 12 states. One is the Northwest, all the Washington, Idaho, Oregon, place like that. One is most of the Midwestern, Northeastern states. And then the fourth group is just 2 states, Texas and California joined together. Which you wouldn't think of them joining together.
No, you wouldn't.
So they kind of
That's pretty random.
And they kind of try to take over the government. I'm sure it's a movie. The critics really like it, and it did really well at the box office in its opening week. So I would like to go.
Is it still in movie theaters?
Yeah, it just came out last week. So I want to go see Civil War. A lot of the actors in it are some of my favorites. Kirsten Dunst, who you might remember was the original, and was in the original Spider-Man movie. She's been around for a little while, but I like her. And the actor that plays the president, there are some actors in that movie that I like. So, and I like the history stuff.
Yeah.
Based on it could really happen kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I want to shout out to Civil War fans. That might be a good movie to go see. Now I mentioned. At the end of each episode, I like to discuss a quote or something. Last week I talked about Shakespearean play. The first thing we do is kill all the lawyers.
Yeah.
And so I have one for this episode. I mentioned The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. Like so many movies, The Godfather was a book first, written by a great writer named Mario Puzo, and he also co-wrote the screenplay for the movie, The Godfather. I read the book after I had seen the movie. And
you're always supposed to read the book first, they say.
There's a line in the book that's not in the movie, and the line is, it's The Godfather. You probably never saw The Godfather.
No, I haven't.
It's like what they call, you ever hear the term an acquired taste? It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Have you ever drank scotch?
Yes, one time.
And that's it. And you probably didn't like it.
Yeah, left a bad taste in my mouth.
The thing is, scotch is an acquired taste. Like you have to drink it and learn to that says it all. It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
The Godfather, like especially I think young kids today, like the mafia influence isn't what it was. When I was in law school, there was this one woman professor. I did not like her at all. I thought she was not very bright. And how did she even become a professor? She ended up getting fired. And her boyfriend was really into mafia, like The Sopranos and The Godfather. And like, so she's like, there's no mafia anymore. And I'm thinking like, I don't know where she comes from, but where I grew up, it's still around.
It's still there.
They might not be as powerful as they were in like 1972. But anyway, that's another topic for another episode. But so The Godfather is an acquired taste. Like if you watch it, I mean, some of it's obviously in color, but some of the scenes are like dark scenes and like dark restaurants and bars, and you don't have like soundtrack, and you don't have like sex, a lot of that things that people go to movies for today. Right. But it's just such a well done movie, and it's based on true events. Like most of I think anyone would agree that most of the characters in the movie are based to some degree on real people. Right. I think any expert, I'm sure the director and co-writer Francis Ford Coppola would agree that most of the characters are based to some degree on real people. But it's an acquired taste. But anyway, there's a line in the book that's not in the movie, and the line is this: The Godfather, who's like the head of the mafia family, he says, a lawyer with his briefcase can steal more than 100 men with guns. And like, I get where he's coming from. Like a lot of people have a negative connotation of lawyers. Like when I read the book, and they didn't put it in the movie because my understanding is the director said we can't put that in the movie, But I'm like a little like offended by that because I try to get my clients what's due them, whether it be an insurance claim that the insurance company doesn't want to pay or doesn't want to pay enough. Right. Or an injury where they don't want to pay or don't want to pay enough. Like, I that image of a sleazy attorney that will do anything to get money, and like I was reading today about this girl, and I don't know the facts of this case, that went to a Wendy's in Michigan, and then I guess 3 days later she got sick, and now they're suing the Wendy's for $22 million. I don't know what caused her injuries, but I mean. I suppose that you could eat something bad enough to. I mean, apparently she's in really bad shape, but I do get people sometimes that want, come to me with what I think is a frivolous claim or a bogus claim, and I just politely tell them that, I'm really busy right now. I don't think I could help you. Like, I'm not the lawyer with his briefcase that could steal more than 100 men with guns. I guess I know what he's saying with that comment, but. That's my Godfather quote. I had my Shakespeare quote last week. We'll probably have one every week.
All right. I like that.
All right.
Ending with a quote.
So, Sarah, I understand you're going to be going on vacation soon, so we're going to be missing you for a week.
I am. I'm going to the Bahamas for 8 days. I leave the 27th, and I get back May 4th. I'm so excited.
So we're going to have a special guest host that week to fill in. Well,
actually, no one
can replace you.
Thank you.
But we will have someone
That's all right.
in that seat.
They'll keep the seat warm for me.
All right, well, you enjoy your vacation. We'll see you next week, though, right?
Yes, next week I'll be here.
All right, sounds good. All right, folks, I think that about does it for today. We look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of the TomCast.
See you later, guys.
Bye.